Hey everyone, Jedith and I are back with another Shadowlands Dungeon Trash Guide, where we examine all the trash mobs in every Shadowlands dungeon. In this video, we will take a look at the trash from the Halls of Atonement in Revendreth, finding out all about their spells, abilities, buffs, and debuffs, and giving some general tips on how to deal with them.
Don't forget you can check us out on Twitch at twitch.tv/Jedith and twitch.tv/TalonX, where you'll find us running Mythic Plus multiple days a week. If you're looking to learn more about the new Shadowlands content, have questions about anything in this video, or you're looking for a community of people to play with in the new expansion, be sure to stop by and say hi.
Before we get into the video, remember that this is footage from the beta, and as always, it is subject to change. And as we go through this video, if there is something we have missed, or you have any thoughts on how to deal with these mobs, we would love to hear your feedback in the comments below. And lastly, we have written all of this information on a spreadsheet that is linked below, so feel free to check that out and use it as needed.
Alright, let's take a look at the trash you'll come up against in the Halls of Atonement. First up we have the Depraved Darkblade. This mob is fully susceptible to CC and only has one ability aside from normal melees. Deadly Thrust inflicts physical damage to all enemies in front of the caster. This mob noticeably telegraphs this ability, just sidestep the frontal cone to avoid the damage.
The next pack of mobs you will encounter consist of one Depraved Houndmaster and two Vicious Gargants. Both the Houndmaster and the Gargants can be CC'd and have a few abilities to keep in mind. Depraved Houndmasters will stand at range and shoot a random player inflicting physical damage. Tank the Vicious Gargants on top of this mob or use Death Grip to bring them into the pack, as to ensure you are cleaving all three. Periodically, the Houndmaster will cast Rapid Fire. When cast, the Houndmaster leaps toward a random player and fires a volley of bolts in a frontal cone. Players hit take physical damage from each volley. Lastly, the Houndmaster will attempt to buff the Gargants with Loyal Beasts. This 2-second cast is uninterruptible, but you can cancel it with a stun or knockback. If the Houndmaster completes the cast, it will increase the damage done by all Vicious Gargants within 30 yards by 125% for 20 seconds. Vicious Gargants will melee and cast two other abilities. Jagged Swipe inflicts physical damage to the highest threat target, causing them to bleed every 1 second for 8 seconds. And Jaws of Stone inflicts a large amount of damage to the highest threat target. As long as the Houndmaster does not buff the Gargants, their damage is manageable. If this cast is not interrupted, make sure you lock down the Gargants while you DPS them down or kite them to avoid their massive damage.
Loyal Stoneborn inflicts normal melee attacks and has 3 abilities. Massive Claw strikes the highest threat target, dealing a moderate amount of physical damage. Bloodletting Bite inflicts a small amount of physical damage to the highest threat target and heals the Stoneborn for all damage dealt. Lastly, the Loyal Stoneborn will cast Stone Breath. This uninterruptible 2-second cast blasts a frontal cone, inflicting physical damage and slowing anyone that is hit by 150% for 5 seconds. Do keep in mind that this mob is only susceptible to stuns and nothing else.
Next, we have the Toiling Groundskeeper. This mob's toolkit consists of melee attacks and 2 abilities. Bonk deals a small amount of physical damage to the highest threat target, and Smack is a 1.5-second cast melee ability that deals a large amount of physical damage to the highest threat target. Now, these mobs seem fairly inconsequential if Smack does not hit the tank too often. This ability does a substantial amount of damage compared to the other abilities this mob has. The Groundskeepers can be CC'd in every way, so utilize stuns, disorients, and knockbacks to dampen their damage.
You'll encounter 3 Shards of Halkias throughout this dungeon. They can be incredibly threatening as they have 2 highly impactful abilities in addition to their melee attacks, and are immune to all form of crowd control. Sinquake inflicts a large amount of shadow damage to players caught within the 6-yard brown swirls created by this cast. Sinquake explodes after 2 seconds, so move fast to avoid being caught. Thrash is a 2-second cast that deals a large amount of physical damage to players within 40 yards every 1 second for 8 seconds. Avoid being caught off guard with the incoming damage from this ability by using appropriate cooldowns or outranging the damage if you're able.
Depraved Collectors cast 2 abilities. First is Siphon Life. This 2-second uninterruptible cast deals moderate shadow damage every second for 12 seconds and heals the caster for half of all damage dealt. The only way to stop this ability is to stun or disorient the Depraved Collector, as it is immune to displacement effects. Collect Sins is a 2-second interruptible cast that inflicts shadow damage and summons an animated sin every second for 6 seconds. We were able to see the animated sins spawn from this ability, but they didn't seem to do anything at all at this time.
Next up, we have the Stoneborn Slasher. There's not a lot going on with this mob, as it only melees the tank, casts one ability, and is immune to all forms of crowd control. Powerful Swipe inflicts a large amount of physical damage to the highest threat target and knocks back anyone standing in front of the mob. When this is cast, the Slasher snapshots an area so you can easily sidestep this ability and avoid all the damage. Avoid this ability so you're not knocked into other packs.
The Stoneborn Eviscerator has two abilities at its disposal along with normal melee attacks. Hurl Glaive inflicts a small amount of physical damage to a random player and interrupts the target's cast. Eviscerating Dash inflicts physical damage to a random player and debuffs them with Stony Veins. This debuff will inflict shadow damage every 1 second for 20 seconds, stacking. At 10 stacks, the player will be killed instantly, so make sure to dispel this magic effect before it's too late.
Stoneborn Reavers are immune to CC and cast one ability aside from normal melee attacks. Reaping Strike is an 8-yard cleave that inflicts Stony Veins to all players hit. Face this mob away from the group to minimize the application of Stony Veins.
The last mob type you will encounter in this outside area of the dungeon is the Stone Fiend Anklebiter. This mob has the potential of being annoying if pulled with additional mobs due to its ability, Ankle Bites. This ability causes a random target to take physical damage every 1 second and also has a chance to stun the target for 0.5 seconds when dealing damage. The only way to stop this effect is to kill the Anklebiter. The Anklebiters have very low health and are very easily dealt with if not ignored. Just don't let them attach themselves to too many players while engaged with other impactful mobs.
As you enter into the dungeon's final area, you'll only encounter 2 new mob types. In the Sanctuary, you'll notice Tormented Souls. The Tormented Souls have no abilities, but attacking them will immediately activate the mini-boss, Inquisitor Cigar. Inquisitor Cigar has a few abilities, only one of which is interruptible, and he is immune to all forms of CC. Wicked Bolt is a 2-second interruptible cast that inflicts shadow damage to the highest threat target. This bolt does considerably more damage than the ones cast from the Depraved Obliterators, so make sure you interrupt as many as possible. Anguish is an instant cast ability that inflicts a random player with a moderate amount of shadow damage. Throughout the encounter, Cigar will cast Dark Communion, transforming up to 12 of the Tormented Souls into manifestations of envy. During this 3-second cast, Cigar will heal 6% of his maximum health every second for every Torment Soul drained. Our attempt to pull Cigar out of range of some or all of the Tormented Souls didn't seem to stop this ability at all. The only tactic seems to be to continue DPSing him down until he has no more souls to replenish his HP. Lastly, Disperse Sin is also a 2-second cast and cannot be interrupted. This ability causes a manifestation of envy to drop a small zone on the ground that will deal shadow damage every 1 second to anyone caught within it.
Well, that's it. All the abilities, spells, debuffs, buffs, and general tips for all the trash in the Halls of Atonement in Revendreth. We hope this information proves useful for you as you begin to tackle the dungeons in Shadowlands. If you have any thoughts or comments about this video, please leave a comment below. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel and click the notification bell so you can be informed when our next video is available. We will be releasing our next video on the Myths of Tyrnis Scythe very soon. Until then, thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.